Okay, so this is the house that we purchased. I really wanted to be here. My husband was not as thrilled. Um, he just didn't really like a brick ranch style. So I think he just had something a little prettier. But I am going to put my inspiration for this house and how we can make it a house that I still love because I love this property. It's a half-acre flat lot, but then make it look a little more modern uh, to appease him. Okay, so this is the house. It's only 1,700 square feet right now. Like I said, it's a big flat lot. I've already taken down a couple of trees, and then I'll show you kind of where I took them down. You see, this one here, it was actually a pretty tree. I was going to leave it, but it had woodpecker damage and the trunk was starting to split. These were all silver maples, and the thing about our neighborhood is the silver maples were planted in the 70s, or they just grew up in the 70s, and they're all starting to split and break and fall down. In fact, we had one fall on the power lines at the end of the street, took the power down for a while. So this one was diseased. This one had the power lines all going right through it. Again, it was big. You knew in the next 10, 15 years, those branches would start breaking and it would just be, a lot of maintenance, calling in tree trimmers. So I went ahead and took that one down. And then this one was just too close to the house. When I looked up at it, and I'll see if I can find a picture of it. When I looked at it, there were two cables going, because silver maple a lot of times branches multiple directions. And so there were two cables going from one branch to the other, holding the branch that was leaning towards the house to prevent it from falling on the house. So I said, yeah, that's going to go. Now here we have another silver maple that I would love to take down. They did cut the branches that were leaning to the house. I guess it was going over the garage area, but they couldn't decide if it was on our property. This is the sellers. The sellers cut some branches. They couldn't decide if it was on our property or the neighbor's property. Okay, and that is poison ivy and poison oak growing up the trunk. But they couldn't decide if it was, whose property line it was. But after seeing plans for some preliminary architecture plans, it looks like it's probably going to be on my property. So when I take down these silver maples, I'll replant something like maybe a pretty oak or something else that, like, my neighbors all have these beautiful trees in front of their yards that they've replanted instead of these old silver maples. So I will do something like that. Now I also took out some scrub trees. I think they call them hackberry, all along this fence line. And again, I think those trees back there, we left them, we cut the branches that were over the shed. But I think it's all going to be on my property because after seeing my initial plans, the fence line, looks like most of this brush is on my property. So the fence line is 5 feet inside the actual property line. So just because my neighbor has a very wooded property, which he loves, I will make sure it's on my property line before I take it back. Now this is not landscaped property. This is just overgrown brush. So people that don't like to cut anything down, we will landscape this place. We did take down, we're going to take down the chain link. So we did take down the trees that they're actually starting to grow through the fence, around the fence. So some of them we had trouble cutting even though the trunks were on our side of the fence. Let's do it this way. So even though the trunks are our side of the fence, you can see that the trees were starting to grow through the fence, making it difficult. Again, I don't know. I'm gonna have to see if this is poison ivy or poison oak, because all of this is just kind of overgrown brush. And going back to these hackberry trees here, which, that back one is leaning over the neighbor's shed. Anyways, like I said, I do believe this whole section is in my property lines. So yeah, we cut some more down here. So we'll figure it out. Obviously, I love gardening, and we will plant some pretty trees. Even the backyard, you can see those trees are really pretty. Yeah, that fence line is really just overgrown shrub. Okay, so now we're at the back of the house. And we took down a big tree here. Is again a silver maple. It was leaning over the slab, and we are going to enclose that garage, make that part of the house, and extend the slab out and add a 3-car garage coming back towards me. If we do the garage, we're actually going to have to push the concrete back closer to the fence too, just so you have room to back out or make a nice wide turn to go straight into the garage, because the garage doors will be facing the neighbor's house. And that's pretty common if you walk through our neighborhood, that that's how people have been extending their garages. All right, here's the rest of my backyard. It's like 8 in the morning right now. You can see it gets a lot of sun. So this is south right here. This is east. And then I'll get a lot of western sun. And actually the tree that shades the most in my yard is this hackberry. That is probably going to come down anyway. Again, you can see it, how the branches go over. And it's really just not a very healthy tree. Okay, so this is the original back of the house. Our plan for it, because it is small, would be pushing out the back. This is a master bedroom window here, and a super tiny bathroom. That first window is a bathroom window. I mean, really tiny. I mean, it's a 70s original bathroom, but we'll look at it. But anyway, so it would be pushing the back out here, and then probably the living area here, taking down the porch. The fireplace needs to be redone, so we'll probably take down that fireplace and put a new one in. It's not really safe to use a fireplace, according to the sellers, who had somebody looking at it. And yeah, even pushing out this picture window, which of course I love, but that's where the kitchen is. So I think this whole area will come out. Now, the first contractor that I met with basically told me, what I was kind of throwing out when I talked with an architect, and she did up some preliminary plans. But she didn't really tell me, I kind of said, well, here's my budget. And she said, well, I don't really do pricing. So she did up this whole place that was like over twice my budget, which kind of frustrated me, because I feel like we wasted the 2 months going back and forth. Having said that, I was in Europe for one of the months. I had the surgery. I probably would not be meeting with contractors, to get started until now anyways. But, we pretty much have to scrap, a lot, not everything, but a lot that we did, because basically anything changing the roof line, which would, the original plans cost for raising the roof 2 feet, which, it's, I guess, extremely expensive. So now we're going to be doing additions coming out the back versus anything, and hooking into the roof versus anything changing the roof. We do want to add some fake dormers on the front, but that really doesn't affect the structure of the roof. That's more just for aesthetics. Okay, let's walk and talk. So here's the garage. Now this wall takes about 1/3 of the garage. They enclosed it. They actually did not park in the garage. You could get like a small, like maybe a Prius in here, or a smart car, but yeah, it would be a tight squeeze. I mean, I could get my Honda in here. Now I will say too, a lot of this house is really original from the 70s. And I just, want people to know that the owners had plans and had drawn up initial plans to actually do a lot of remodeling, but then they decided to sell instead. So A lot of it is original, and you might be thinking, oh, why didn't they change this? It was in their big plan, but they just decided to buy instead of pack up, remodel, and then, or move out, remodel, and have to move back. Okay, so this is the kitchen area. They did add this picture, like I said, picture window, really beautiful, but it will have to go because I wonder if you can save the window. I'll have to ask about that because it's not that old. I think it was only put in a few years ago. So it's actually a good window. You can kind of see how they framed it in. It'll be interesting. I'll have to ask about saving this window. Okay, this is like a little dinette area. And here is the kitchen area. Look at this. This is the original oven, 1972. So all original. We're pretty much going to take everything out. So I've got it probably down to the studs. This is a dining area. Now, when we bought the house and when I talked to my very first contractor, our goal was to take all these walls out, to include the kitchen walls, and make this one giant great room. Here's the front door. Here's the front of the house. So that was the original plan. Yeah, we're just going to have to see. Now the plan might be to keep a front room and then when pushing out this back wall, making the great room, you know, the existing living room, and then going back to the whatever new addition portion, which would have a different roof line. But then, yeah, I guess hopefully it'll be less expensive. So let's keep going. Okay, so the original owners lived here for, I think they were the second owners, and they've lived here for like 27 years. Look at this. Still has the intercom system. Okay, now we're going down a hallway, narrow, small hallway. Probably going to keep that. The bathroom, that hall bath, probably going to keep similar size, but obviously redo. Yeah, just redo it. The inspector said that plumbing was kind of bad underneath, so you know we're going to just have to replumb everything and just kind of redo original shower and original tub. Bedrooms, this is a front bedroom. This will be probably Brian's office, and then we might put a sleeper sofa in here, so it's a second bedroom. So it's just a square room. Again, I just got the intercom, got some built-ins in the closet. We probably will change out the bifold doors. Of course, we're going to redo all the flooring, take out all the carpet and everything like that. We might, if it can afford it, put a bigger window in. That's all the windows do need to be replaced. So it would be nice if we can go bigger. Of course, cutting the brick, you know, raises the cost. So we'll see. Now this one was her kids' room. Her kids are all grown and out of the house, but I just loved it for a kid's room. You know, very celestial. But this will be the main guest room. I don't know. Because the wall connects to our bedroom, maybe we'll make this one Brian's office and make the other one so we don't have a wall sharing with the main bedroom, the guest room. Yeah, we'll have to think about that. But again, same thing with the closets, put some different closet doors, maybe like some French doors. Now this is the master, and this is what really needs to be pushed out. So I think in our plan, we had a window on the side wall. Again, speakers. And here's the funny thing. I actually, in the early 90s, which is probably when they moved in here, or they moved in probably mid-80s. But in the early 90s, I had a house in Florida, and I painted dark green walls with a floral border. I mean, like literally, this was the same decor that I put in my house in Florida. But here's the real kicker, which my husband could not get over. This is the master bath. So just single sink, single toilet, and an itty bitty shower. That's how wide the shower is. It's not like you walk in the door and it gets wider. No, the shower is this wide all the way back. And then the closet. Yeah, this is the master bedroom closet. They took some stuff out, some storage stuff out. This is it. So it is, gosh, smaller than the hall closet that I had for your coats in my previous house. So that's it for the interior. So it really, if we get a bigger family room, great room, we're going to enclose the garage and make that part of the living area. That's where the new laundry room will be. Oh, I'll put it over here and show you where they had. So this what used to be the garage, but they enclosed it, made it a laundry room. There's a couple steps down. I mean, I would love to bring it up, but I think that's really expensive because most of the people that I've seen who remodeled did leave a couple stairs down, so it must be pretty pricey. And then they had a pretty good storage closet here. So again, I mean, I could even see just fixing up the storage closet, keeping this a laundry area, and then making the main garage area another room. Kind of, it could be my office or something like that. Yeah, but we could turn this garage into like a little den family area. And then, like I said, add the extension to make the great room, the family room, the main living area. You know, push out here, again, pushing out that master bedroom with a new bath and closet out here. So this part would be extended or an addition. Yeah, that's the plans. But again, we have a pretty decent budget, but it is not an unlimited budget. So, yeah. And then let's come over here, look at the shed area. So here is the shed. They just had it re-roofed when they redid the roof on this place, which was just like 5 years ago. So they did re-roof the shed. Yeah, and it's a nice size. If we end up with a 3-car garage, then the shed is mine for gardening. If we end up with a 2-car garage, then obviously we'll have to share the shed with my husband with garage type storage stuff. So, all right, let's go back one more time just to the front of the house. I just want to point out what we want to do for the front. I already have ordered 13 rose bushes. Not to go all in the front, but the corner where I had the trees, it actually is in full sun most of the day. So let's take a look at it. Corner here, I want to make kind of like an L shape or kidney shape. Have 9 rose beds going all the way. There's a little drainage ditch down here. I don't know if you can see. Kind of like a little wash type thing. So I want it to go all the way, maybe to where this tree was taken down, and then a little bit, not quite as far, across the front, and have an L shape of rose bushes and then a front row of peonies. But I have to see if you can plant roses and peonies in the same bed or if they need different soil amendments. Okay, and then in the front of the house, we want to put some dormers. So the original plan had 3 small dormers, one over this window, one right in the middle, between these elevated points, center. The front door was going to be moved to the center. And then the third one would be over that far window. But I think over this center, I'm going to need a bigger dormer because, put 2 small ones on the end and then one that, if I want a double front door, one that's, wider to kind of balance out and recenter the home. But then the front porch, I wanted to be able to put a porch swing, so we talked about pulling it out. Ooh, I've got a package. We're pulling it out all the way up to this curb area, and then either stopping before this window, or even going all the way, I say before this window, before the next brick windows, or even making it really huge, going all the way to the end of here, and making that all a giant front porch. One of the houses on the other side did a giant front porch, and it's beautiful. And every morning in our rental, we're just always sitting on the porch with our coffee. This is a very walk-friendly neighborhood, so people are walking their dogs. There's our rental over there. So yeah, there's just a lot of activity, and I just love being on the front porch. So I wanted to make sure that I had a front porch that I could sit on and enjoy. Eventually, after the addition, I'll probably put a garden room on the back. It was part of the original plan, but I really think I'll go over budget. So I don't think I'm going to be able to get a garden room this go around, but I don't mind if it's an add-on at a later date. I can deal with that, just as long as I have a house to move into and a new kitchen. So, okay, so this is it for the new home tour. Realistically, I don't think we would be in here any earlier than next spring, maybe even next summer, but I would hope next spring. If we're, again, working with the contractors now, it just depends which one's available to start demoing the soonest. Because I think it will be contractor availability even more so than getting in like windows and cabinets and things like that, because I still think we could get all those in by next January, February, and have the construction done by March. Our rental is up in March, but I think we could go month to month after that. So anyways, that's it. Hope you enjoyed seeing our home. I will keep posting home and garden updates as I have them.